Hi y'all, Mama Liz here. And I just had to jump on just for a minute because I noticed what Ryan had posted on Instagram. And yeah, I know I don't look good. My health has taken another. I actually have a fracture in one of my temporal bones, and they don't know if it's current or old, and they don't know if possibly my RSD is making it worse, but it's making my health really bad. Um, really bad. I'm not gonna cry. But when I saw this, I wanted to come back and I wanted to say, oh, gee, just what if people actually listen to me? Because I believe I stated earlier with this arbor crap that Ron was going through, that it seemed like she was motivated in the wrong way. And that while she went and got the original paperwork, if a judge had finally gotten them all together and was forced to look at it, he would understand that perhaps she had falsified or attempted to create a narrative with her behavior rather than being in actual danger. She was just really perturbed about something, and this was basically a recourse. This was a retaliation or a retaliatory effect, and the prolonging of the court date was, a good premise to focus on because that was the harm she was attempting to do. And lo and behold, it said that, while the original statement may have shown proof of some malice, that her recent evidence was clear, that, let me read it here, that there was improper motive and damages to business and reputation. And that this was basically a conspiracy among the defendants to injure and harm the plaintiff. And that there was some harassing conduct. But upon, a little bit more looking, it said that the defendant's conduct basically was, and what she was saying was so harassing and possibly harmful of him, was his threat of it's a lesson to be learned. So, something, if you screw around with somebody and they say, do it and learn, is that really a threat, or is that a, just kind of a blatant coverall of you should probably leave people alone because people do have recourse to take care of themselves. And then, of course, we're talking about fans that threatened harm, which, something fans should never. You're fans. This is not your life. Don't live it. This is not your life. Just leave it alone. There's no need to pick on somebody that you have no familial connection with. And even if you have a familiar connection with two people that are in the middle of a domestic, it's your best policy just to leave people alone. Let them deal with their own crap. But the thing was that after she had stated all of this, and the defendants filed their evidence, the evidence disputed and contradicted the plaintiff's evidence, creating a credibility issue. The defendants have presented several defenses: self-publication, truth and absence of malice, or improper motive, insufficiency of proof, for severe emotional distress, insufficiency of proof of a conspiracy, and absence of damages. I'm sure the judge that saw this saw that everything was pretty much backwards. And that kind of threw them for a loop, because here we have a woman who's stating all of these things, but when we actually get evidence and we look through the evidentiary proceedings, we can see that, bless their hearts, the defendants are actually being harmed more emotionally, financially by this than the plaintiff was. And therefore, they basically said at this preliminary stage, there's nothing that we can move forward on, and so for the restraining order is dissolved. And know I'm being jumbled because I wanted to read certain statements out of that, but what I said in my original videos was that her behavior would come back and bite her in the butt. Because after she said, I feel threatened, I feel violated, I feel as though I'm going to be harmed, she then went on a internet tour that covered every circuit possible and was in and of herself berating, hostile, and sexually malevolent toward the people that she interacted with, especially that Peterson interview. It just blew my mind. That just women, do not go anywhere and file a claim about domestic violence or being treated inappropriately and then go do an interview with someone and then treat him inappropriately in this just a hypersexualized manner. That was just, tacky. It was tacky. It was tacky. And I have a really difficult time with women who do this, that they want their sexuality on show and they want to absolutely milk it, but they don't want to be held accountable for it at all. Like, this is like the lowest cut shirt that I own, and it's still, I'm covered. And I still thought about changing shirts because the presentment of myself, the presentation of myself, I thought might have been a little too girly today. But then I thought, no, this is a good way to explain this. No, I have on this top. Here's a good rule when I have on clothes like this. If I have on a top that bears my shoulders, you bet your sweet honey my butt and my legs are at least covered into a capri pant. I never show both ends. It's a balance of skin. And I watch the way young women dress today, and I wonder if they do not understand that a lot of the way they present themselves is the reason that they're treated in a certain manner. Now, hold with me. I know that nobody should ever just jump on somebody and just assume how they want to be treated. But I also have to stand up for the guys that see the girls that have on absolutely no clothes in the summer, that their first mind is, well, if they'll present themselves like that, what will they show me behind closed doors? I understand both mindsets. We have to be aware of both mindsets. We have to balance out both mindsets. And this is how people that get into relationships find themselves in bad situations, because you don't know somebody to the depth that you know them to have a relationship. You start doing things prematurely in the relationship that require a bigger emotional understanding and emotional foundation. And then you wade into these waters and you get knee deep and you realize that's not where you wanted to be, and you're stuck in the quagmire and you can't get out. And so the only way that you can then separate is to create some kind of court issue, create some kind of legal capacity to where you can then draw the line. If you had drawn the line when you first met and stated, these are things I will not do, these are things you cannot ever expect from me, and these are things that will make me walk away, then you wouldn't have had that issue ever. So this is great. And I think this is great for men and women, but primarily for women, because I see, as a woman, I see women use the court system inappropriately. You almost use the court system as the bouncer to your private club. I'm just being honest. You use the court system as a bouncer to your private club. And if you think people want to go to Club Cooter that quickly and get tangled up in your mess of a life, you got another thing coming, honey. Relationships are not built on what they used to be built on. They're basically built on booty calls these days. No one's building them on a solid foundation of, I want to possibly share my life with you, make you a life partner, and possibly one day enter into a long-term agreement where we build and establish a life that we can be proud of when we're senior citizens. No one's thinking like that anymore. No. Everybody's thinking about how many people they can be with in their life, how to get their numbers up, how to feel like big braggarts, that you're actually accomplishing something when you go through people like Kleenexes. And then when you get in these issues where you have to go into a court to separate yourselves, because apparently premature sex is worse than two dogs knotting up. Just saying. Then, something, you open that relationship up to public scrutiny, because court records are public record. And I just want to say, it's so much nicer if you keep yourselves and your business private, and you slowly move into these areas of physical and sexual exploration. And you do so with a clear head, a clear mind, and clear discussions beforehand about what you will and will not allow in a relationship so that the other party knows. It is okay if somebody says, I would like to be with you tonight, to look at them and say, well, what about tomorrow? What about next week? What about 2 months from now? What about when something goes wrong in my life? What about when you find out I don't have a huge savings account or a lot of money? What about when you find out that my family is more important to me than my boyfriend's? What about when you find out I have past issues that I don't have resolutions for that creep up into these? These are all things that if you learn somebody over a several week period before you get intimate, you can go, that bag of chips is a little too spicy for my taste. I'm gonna throw that one back for someone else to have, and I'm gonna walk down and get me a plainer bag of chips that has a little bit less spice to it. It's completely okay, because at that time you've not crossed a physical boundary, and it's respected. It's like, okay, we didn't go there, and you decided you didn't want to go there, and it's all good. But if you have already thrown your giblets at somebody and created an emotional attachment with giblet attachment, because those two go together, don't tell me they don't. People want to say that they can have all the sex they want, but they don't get attached to people. That's a lie. Go ahead, lie. Because you do create an emotional attachment. And when you create a very shallow emotional attachment, guess what happens when you try to detach? People get salty, and they get slanderous, and they go to the court, and they like to upset your life because you have upset them emotionally. Even though what you did to them is a blip on the radar, they want to take you down like the Hindenburg. All because you threw your giblets at them. So what I'd like for people to take from this is to understand, number one, the court is going to look at everything. More than what you just say, they're going to look at the past. They're going to look at current issues. They're going to look at what you've done since you filed for any kind of domestic protection. They're going to monitor you, because the person that requested is under the same microscope that the person they requested against is. And they're under the same liability and contact discretion. So if they say they may not have contact with you, it also means you may not have contact with them. And normally it is no indirect or direct contact, which means if you try to have a friend of a friend of a friend call and ask them for you, that's still contact. If you go on a internet show and you raise the issue to be discussed, that can be seen as possible indirect contact. It's time to get back to where we care about people. And a relationship is a relationship. It's between two people that have a capacity to care for one another, and they cherish many of the same things, which makes that capacity to care seem just right. Makes it seem a mirror image of the other. Makes it seem like it's going to fit together well. And if you slowly progress into that capacity to care, if you hit a speed bump and you care enough about that person and you slowly generated that care, you will also care enough about that person to let them walk away without injury. It makes perfect sense. So I'm glad that this is over. I'm glad that Ryan is not having to deal with this anymore. I'm glad that it shows the inconsistency at which women will report things and then go and handle their life in a completely alternate manner and then expect the court to not see that or not address that. Women, smarten up. I mean, seriously. I look at y'all and I look at the new gene pool coming up, and it concerns me. It concerns me a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I wonder if all the generation after this is gonna be is just consumed with absolute physical exterior appearance and add-ons to the body. It's like, men work on trucks all the time. That's great. But women legit spend all their money altering themselves to where it takes them 20 minutes a night to take off all the fake crap before they can go to bed. I see a problem with this. And I also see a problem in the way that if you can change the exterior and lie to someone through that, and if it's so hurtful for you to show them the exterior, how hurtful is it to show them the interior, which we all know is a mess when compared to the to the outside, and the inside's a mess always. So have we just become a society of liars who needs judges to tell us no and smack our hands and say stop that crap? Or are we going to become better people? I don't know. Haven't got a clue. But I do have another CT next week to figure out what is going on with me and my health. I would beg for all the prayers and well wishes possible, because it's getting a little scary. But at the same time, it gives me the ability to say what I need to say. It gives me the bravery to say what I think other people need to hear. Because, y'all, the world is going to crap. And I think we need some truth tellers out there. And if you're a truth teller, by God, get on a social platform and begin telling your truth. Because you know something? The world is going to crap. And I'm not someone that can sit here and let it go to crap on its own without saying, excuse me, really? Really? And I'm going to start by calling out women that do crap like this that I just read. Really? You have such complete disregard for humanity that you will attempt a relationship, attempt a love fest, attempt to fall in love and Twitter pate some man, and then 2 weeks later attempt to ruin his life. If that is love, honey, I don't want to know what you do on Shark Week. I don't want to know what you do to people you just, politely disagree with. I think this is something we got to talk about. Women are getting mean. Women have always been meaner than men, but women are getting real mean. Women are learning to manipulate things they shouldn't manipulate, such as court systems, family courts. And don't get me wrong, I had a bad split with my first husband. He just hit sorry, kept going. Run off with a temp agency secretary like it didn't mean a thing, and left me with 2 toddlers to raise, and I had to raise them, and I had to have the wrath of his entire family the whole year. Oh, you forced him into that adoption. No, when the state issued a warrant because he was behind on child support and he never paid, he called and wanted out of it. And the state told him, she can't make the decision. If you want out of it, you got to give us your rights. So he terminated his rights. He petitioned for the state to allow my new husband to adopt, and that's what happened. I've been through bad. I've seen how sorry men can be. But that wasn't completely 100% his fault, because there was a woman there that helped him make that decision. There was a woman that was entangled in that helped make his decision. And she's as guilty as he is. And I lived the rest of my life hoping that I would never do anything to anyone that would hurt someone as much as they hurt me. And I still don't think they understand how much they hurt me. But that's okay, that's my big booty hill, not theirs, and I dealt with it, and I moved on. But one thing I always wanted to grasp was the chance to talk to these young ladies who treat people like crap, or think that the world is simply there for their benefit. And that if you got a tight butt and a nice rack, you're supposed to be able to get farther than other women. How about a brain and a sense of courtesy to other humans? I'm afraid that all of the females upon the earth are slowly turning into Miss Arbors. And that terrifies me. That terrifies me. Because you know something? The population of fat and amicable ladies are shrinking. You men are screwed. And yeah, y'all somewhat helped cause the issue. But to help correct the issue, you're going to have to start dating women based on mental and emotional stability instead of physical parameters. And let me tell you what, men, when that woman treats you good, takes care of you, makes you a home that you want to live in, gives you children to love, you will love that little squishy hind end that might be bigger than your last couple of girlfriends more than you can ever imagine. And her imperfections will become perfect when you see the love that comes from them. If you can just get over the hurdle of this stupid societal perfection crap. Let me tell you what. Women are not meant to be perfect. We're not meant to be perfect. We're meant to raise the babies. We're meant to be leaders within our community groups. We're meant to use our intellect because our bodies are given these huge challenges of creation, of creating the next generation. I know that you guys think you understand the power of creation, but until you've birthed a child, that you've grown for almost an entire year, it puts an accountability in your heart that you just can't express to someone else. Especially when we have little boys that we then watch grow up and they run into these little girls that are just demons. They're just demons. And we go, that is not where the power of the next generation lies. And if you place your love and devotion there, you're putting it in a vacuum because you're not going to get it back. And the world is not going to know the love that it should have known because it's all going into something where it's siphoned away. We've just lost a whole couple of generations to this stupid beauty craze, this stupid hollow beauty craze, where they go after these women that are fake. That are just fake. Now, I'm sorry, you can go have a boob job and you can go have plastic surgery and you can still be a good human being. You can. But when you do those things simply to endeavor to lie to people and to benefit from those lies, you're fake. And I just think the world deserves so much more. And that's women that have generated the next generation. And we understand the responsibility and the accountability that women should have and should understand. We look at women today and we go, oh, crap. Because we know, much like my native Cherokee ancestors, we know how important women are. We know why they're often in leadership roles. And I don't see any worthy of a leadership role today. And I challenge all women. I challenge you. Stop. Stop basing your perfection, your self-esteem, your love of yourself on others' feedback. Stop doing things in the world because you think it's what Instagram or Facebook or YouTube wants to see. Do it because you feel a responsibility and accountability to do something that's going to be positive, that's going to impact those around you in a positive way. Not just you, not just get you thumbs up and likes, but get you conversations with people in your community that are going to know you the rest of your life and support your endeavors face to face. Talk to people. Not on Instagram, not on Facebook, not where they can hide behind a persona. Talk to them in real life. And if you use these tactics and you meet men this way too, you're going to have such better relationships, and you're not going to end up in court systems, and you're not going to end up with people lying against you and making up stories. You're not going to end up having these problems because you're going to have a validity, a truth, a foundation to what's going on in your life. Because what if these social platforms left tomorrow and all of the life you've lived on them is no longer there? What would your story be? If you wouldn't have one, you've got a lot to think about right now. Brian, I'm so glad that this is going away. I'm so glad that a lot of people have learned a lot about this, that have learned a lot from this, that understand a little bit more about how domestic violence, orders of protection, DVOs, and all this crap works out. It was a bad thing to happen, but at least we used it for good to educate. Get your crap straight, people. Get your crap straight. Life will become better. And I'm still here, and I'm still bragging on Ryan because, you know something, he's straightened up a lot of his life. And when he does it, we see lots more smiles, a lot more positivity, a lot more happiness, and we get really awesome music. So lead by example there, people, just like Brian is. Yeah, he showed us the bad, But he's showing us what happens when the good takes over too. And I'm proud of him, super proud of him. And as my health allows, I'm going to continue trying to do these videos. If you don't see me for a while, it's because I need a rest. And pray for my CT next week and the results. And that it's something that we can handle and get through together. Mama Liz out.